Namaste and a hearty welcome to Soft Talk. In this episode of the program, I'll be talking about the Afghan crisis. So let me start. In mid-April 2021, US President Joe Biden made a historic announcement. Biden announced that the withdrawal of US troops from Afghanistan will begin on May 1st and it will end on September 11, 2021. That September 11, 2021 marks the 20th anniversary of September 9, 2001 Twin Tower attacks that prompted the United States to launch what is called a global war on terrorism. The 9/11 attacks became a turning point not only for the US but the whole world. The stated objectives of the US led war on terrorism were to protect the US by dismantling terrorist cells in the US and disrupting the activities of the Al-Qaeda-headed international network of terrorist organizations. Afghanistan became a major theater of this war as the then US President George W. Bush warned the Taliban regime that was in power in Afghanistan to hand over Al-Qaeda leaders hiding in that country or share in their fate. But that ambitious war, this Afghan-centric war in particular, is coming to a close after taking a huge toll on humanity, leaving behind more than 3,500 US and allied, that is NATO, military deaths, the deaths of more than 47,000 Afghan civilians, the killing of at least 66,000 Afghan troops, and over 2.7 million Afghans fleeing the war-ravaged country. The fall of Afghanistan, despite huge US involvement in man, machine, and infrastructure, will go down in history as a major shocker. Now, let's think a little bit about Nepali citizens stranded in Afghanistan and how indifferent the Nepali state appears to be when it comes to rescuing them. Even a cursory study of recent events, media reports included, uh, this a cursory study of recent events unfolding in Afghanistan would make it quite clear that the Taliban were poised to take over Afghanistan given their steady advances towards the Afghan capital, that is Kabul, after the fall of provincial capitals in quick succession. For example, in May, the Taliban captured North Nark district, that is, just outside Kabul, as violence flared up throughout the country. While in June, the Taliban took over more than 50 out of 370 districts, with Afghan soldiers suffering heavy fatalities. While in early July, American troops pulled out of their main military base, the Bagram Air Base, an hour's drive from Kabul, signaling the end of US involvement in that war. After the Bagram pullout, the emboldened Taliban went on to control about a half of the country's districts by the end of July. Was that in the distant past? Were all these events happening in the distant past for our state in deep slumber? Even if that were the case, the Nepali state was fully awake in August, what with efforts to cobble together a grand coalition of like-minded allies under the not so august leadership of the Nepali Congress, right? Besides, our man in Islamabad must have kept the state abreast with the state of affairs in Afghanistan, where, as per the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, around 1,500 Nepalis remain. Unofficial estimates, meanwhile, put the number of Nepalis in Afghanistan, including those who went there illegally, at around 17,000. As of late evening, August 17, 2021, 120 Nepalis working as security guards have returned home from Afghanistan. Quoting some of those returnees, media reports have pointed that the employer company and not the Nepal government had played a very important role in their return. Now, back to the Taliban advances. On August 13, four provincial capitals, including Kandahar, the country's second largest city located in the south, fell to the Taliban along with the key city of Herat in the west. The major northern city of Mazar-e-Sharif fell on August 14th, while the eastern city of Jalalabad, just besides Kabul, fell a day later. On August 15th, the national capital, Kabul, went to the Taliban. Our state, the Nepali state, seems to have awoken only after the capture of Kabul, the Taliban capture of Kabul. Then after a couple of lawmakers from both the ruling establishment and the opposition joined in that shrill rhetoric, demanding at a press conference that the government start airlifting the stranded Nepalese without delay. Soon enough, the parliament, on the verge of prorogation, heard that shrill rhetoric at its echo chamber, demanding immediate airlifting of the stranded Nepalese. It should be noted that all along, uh, the government officials had not uh, done necessary coordination to bring in Nepalis living in different parts of that war-ravaged country to its capital, that is Kabul, from where they could be just airlifted without this waste of precious little time that they had. That was this shrill rhetoric high decibel rhetoric without much action, not accompanied by action on the ground, was another instance of our good for nothings playing to the gallery at the 11th hour. Indeed, history should judge this 11th hour response to an emergency situation on the part of our elected representatives, on the part of our elected, on the part of our elected representatives and the government with all harshness it deserves. With this remark, I come to the conclusion of this episode of Soft Talk. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.